Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased, true crime channel on the internet. First on the docket, this L.Vallow interview that's floating around. I received a bunch of comments and questions about it. I'll tell you what I think. Second, Mr. Kelly's jury will be anonymous. Third, some good news, Operation Find Our Children. Fourth, examples of why you can trust very few people in the world. Fifth, Lori Loughlin is in prison. Sixth, horrific story yet again out of Colorado, and our dumb criminal contestant of the day. And we announced the winner from last week. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk, and my name is Scott Reisch. First, if you haven't done so already, we'd ask that you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so that you receive notifications, and as always, leave us a comment below. Now, first on the docket, there's this new secret audio that's floating around out there regarding L.Vallow, and it sounds like to me she's having a conversation for one of these podcasts that she was doing, or sitting around a living room chatting with people. This recording was apparently found by or made by or somehow enhanced by Annie Cushings, who is Tylee's aunt and Joseph Ryan's sister. Now, a lot of people asked, is this an admission? I don't think it admits to anything. And then on top of that, some people ask, is it relevant to the case as it relates to the disappearance of Tylee and JJ? My first response, and I responded to many people and said, well, as of, I think, Saturday, I had not reviewed it. Well, I have reviewed it. I've actually listened to it a couple of times thinking, am I missing something here? And if you listen to that audio, and I think we can put a link to it, we can upload that. But as far as I'm concerned, yes, now there was reference in there by what purports to be L.Vallow, stating that she wanted to murder her husband because of the pain and grief, and that somehow she was justified in doing so because she had been wronged at least 3 times, and according to the Bible, that was good enough and it was justifiable. Now, there's some other references about children and kids and evil hearts, but frankly, I don't think that that is going to be relevant or used in any way by the district attorney. There was statements in that audio that simply refer to, I would like to, I wanted to. Well, guess what? That's not an admission. And let's face it, if L.Vallow was going to be charged with the death of anyone, they probably would do it by now. And is that audio the smoking gun? I don't think so. A lot of people may disagree with me. That's okay. That's my opinion based upon what I listened to a couple of times. It's just not there. It really isn't. And if this information was so great, why is Annie Cushings not taking it to the police saying, look, here it is, the smoking gun? It's nothing. People can talk about what they would like to have done to people all day long. And even though this recording was made apparently on October 19th of 2018, where Joseph Ryan had now been deceased by that time by roughly about 6 months, doesn't come across to me as a criminal defense attorney as an admission in any way. And frankly, if it were, she'd be charged by now. She's not going to be, based upon the facts that the police are aware of. Let me tell you, there's nothing more that police would like to do than to charge people with homicides if they believe they have the right person and they can prove it. Remember, when a case is filed, it goes from the police to the district attorney. The district attorney has to review it to see if there's sufficient probable cause to get an arrest warrant. Probable cause is a very low standard compared to proof beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. The district attorney has an ethical obligation only to take that case if they believe at the time of filing of charges they can prove each and every element of the offenses charged beyond a reasonable doubt. If they can't do that, they have an ethical obligation not to charge. So, if this was going to be the smoking gun, they would have been resolved already. It simply is not. I know a lot of people don't like L.Vallow, Chad Daybell. I get it. Understand. But this is why hopefully people come here, which is for straight, honest analysis based upon the law. And I'm telling you, this audio isn't it. Next on the docket, that's right, Mr. Kelly, whose first initial is R. That's right. His jury is going to be anonymous. The judge ruled that the motion filed by the United States attorney saying that we want to impanel an anonymous jury is appropriate given the seriousness of the charges, the defendants, Mr. Kelly's history of obstructing the judicial process, the potential for juror intimidation, and the intensity of immediate attention given this case, which is why the judge made her decision. Mr. Kelly continues to be held without bail in federal prison in Chicago, where he also faces federal charges and state charges. And prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York had argued for jurors to be kept anonymous as well. And the United States attorneys argued for the case in New York that due to Mr. Kelly's alleged efforts to influence witnesses and jurors in his 2008 state trial in Illinois, that it was appropriate to have an anonymous jury. Now, the defense objection to having an anonymous jury is, hey, judge, we need to be able to know the names of the jurors. We need to be able to know what they do, where they work, where they live, so that basically we have a better idea, and it's going to affect our ability to obtain a fair and impartial jury in this particular case, and which is code for really we want to run a background check on all of the jurors. The judge was unpersuaded by the defense argument, and they will receive none of that information. Normally, you get to know a juror's name, where they work, kind of some general information about the family. So this is going to be an old school U.S. District Court voir dire. And what that amounts to is most federal courts don't allow the attorneys to get up and ask a whole lot of questions on their own. The judge does most of it. Let me show you an example of a United States District Court judge doing voir dire. I'm the judge. Here we go. Potential juror number 1. You can be a fair and impartial juror in this case, can't you? Yes. Do you believe that you can follow my instructions if I order them to you? Potential juror. Yes. Good. Potential juror number 1 is qualified. Have a seat. That's old school U.S. District Court voir dire. Should be pretty quick. Unless a juror says, no, I don't want to be fair, I can't be fair, they're going to be selected. Now, this will be a significant issue for Mr. Kelly if he is convicted, and obviously we give him the presumption of innocence, but if he is convicted, this will be one of the issues raised on appeal. The judge could also sequester the jury, which is rarely ever done in today's world, but it's possible that they could have done that. But in this particular case, the judge is taking the least restrictive way of protecting the jury to make sure that Mr. Kelly receives a fair and impartial jury and that no one attempts to intimidate or tamper with the jury by keeping their names anonymous. Next on the docket, how about some good news? All right, some days you get a little down hearing all of the bad news in the world. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you're interested in true crime, no doubt. Well, over the weekend, the United States Marshals in Virginia completed a 5-day operation called Operation Find Our Children. They recovered 27 previously missing kids, as well as confirming that 6 were actually with their natural guardians. The operation did recover several children that were not with whom they were supposed to be. For example, a 16-year-old was found in Roanoke, Virginia, with 2 men where there was evidence of drug trafficking going on, and they also found out that the young woman was more than likely involved in human trafficking. So hats off to the police protecting those children. Now, sometimes obviously a lot of these kids run away. They have no idea what the hell they're getting into when they do in fact run away. So hopefully they are returned to a safe environment. Next on the docket, an example of why you can trust very few people in the world. Please meet, and we'll give her the presumption of innocence, Kimberly Diggins. She is a healthcare worker, and she was tasked with caring for a woman with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Well, apparently while the patient was sleeping, instead of being the true angel that we all hoped that she would be, Miss Diggins allegedly swiped the credit card of the victim in this particular case. That's right, the stage 4 pancreatic cancer client that she had. Well, Miss Diggins allegedly took the card, allowed her son to go use the card at a local Walmart, running up a bill of some $700. Ultimately, the police contacted Miss Diggins' son, who had the credit card. Once the charges were located, the victim's husband determined that the charge was not legitimate because his wife is suffering from stage 4 pancreatic cancer and not exactly running out to do a little shopping at Walmart, and she was under pain medication at the time the card was stolen. And needless to say, that is theft from an at-risk adult, and hopefully, if Miss Diggins is convicted, that she will not be allowed to be in a situation like that again. When people are taking care of people in their time of medical needs, you should be able to trust the people and hope that while you're under medication or you're not looking, that someone's not going through your personal belongings and pilfering your credit cards to give to your children to go run up bills at Walmart. How's that for a nice segue into why you need to go to CrimeTalkSearch.com and sign up for a background check subscription service so that you can anonymously search as many people as you want or need to so that you know who you are dealing with. And when you sign up and you run that search, which will search millions of records, and you'll get a report generated, and it's going to have criminal background records, which are going to include sex offender registration. You're going to have property records, divorce records, bankruptcies. You're also going to be able to find out information regarding social media. You're going to be able to find about emails, phone numbers associated with these particular individuals. You know, when you start seeing that there's 4 active phone numbers associated with somebody, you have to ask why. Why don't you just use one phone number? Why do you have multiple email addresses? Is that because you have all your Tinder accounts through those? Those are the things that you're going to be able to find out. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up. Don't be a victim. You'll be happy you signed up. You'll be satisfied. Next on the docket, Lori Loughlin is actually in federal prison as we speak. She turned herself in Friday to the Dublin, California Correctional Institution there, run by the feds. Now, this is a minimum security prison, and frankly, life's not going to be too tough. And for the first 14 days, she's going to be in quarantine, and I assure you, Miss Loughlin will be safe. So 14 of her 30-day sentence is going to be in COVID quarantine, which is also the time period where people get acclimated to the prison system before they kind of throw people out into the general population. So she shouldn't be at any risk. Now, Miss Loughlin asked that her date be moved up, basically so she can be home for the holidays. Her husband also turned himself in, and he's got to serve 2 months in federal prison. Needless to say, Lori Loughlin got a sweetheart deal in this particular case. Can't imagine if people were rich and famous and could write a $500,000 check to get your children in who apparently weren't qualified for school. Yes, they have a felony conviction on their record, but only 60 days in custody. My estimation is that if you had engaged in a $500,000 wire fraud scheme, you'd be getting more than 60 days in custody. Just saying. Who am I? Just somebody that's practiced in the federal system for 20 plus years. Smoking deal. Good luck, Lori. Good luck, Mr. Massimito, her husband. Hopefully they will be better from this, and certainly, as we talked about last week, they will be humbled. All right, next on the docket, a horrific story that's kind of developing here in Colorado as we speak, but just absolutely tragic. A babysitter, and this is up by Windsor, Colorado, Fort Collins area, which is just north here of actually the Crime Talk studios. It's maybe a 30, 45-minute drive at most. Well, a babysitter was shot to death Thursday night while trying to prevent an auto theft. And the suspect also tried to kill the babysitter's young child that she was watching before fleeing the scene. Listen to this. This guy, Trevor George, he's 32, and we'll give him the presumption of innocence, but he was arrested hours later at a Fort Collins gas station in a Dodge Challenger. Now, it's alleged that he stole that Challenger from this farmhouse where he shot the young babysitter. The name of the babysitter isn't being released at this time, but clearly tragic situation, and it sounds like she's a hero. According to police reports, the babysitter heard noises outside the farmhouse and she went out to investigate. She found a man attempting to steal a truck. That man, allegedly Trevor George, shot the babysitter to death and then apparently went inside where he tried to strangle the young girl the victim was actually babysitting. She began screaming for help. The girl's mother returned home at about that same time, found the babysitter deceased in the driveway. When she went inside, she found the suspect attacking her daughter. Family members said that the suspect then threatened to kill her and her daughter before he ultimately ran out of the house. The mother and daughter then crawled into a crawl space, called the police, and waited there in the crawl space until the police arrived. Officers in a neighboring jurisdiction spotted Mr. George driving the vehicle he stole on Interstate 25, which is the one that runs north and south here in Colorado, and followed him until he pulled off to get gas. Officers tased him before taking him into custody, and he was checked over by medical personnel before he was in fact taken to jail. He was arrested related to the stolen vehicle, but the sheriff's office later said he's being charged with first-degree murder after deliberation, attempted first-degree murder, possession of a weapon by a previous offender, and first-degree assault, 4 counts of felony menacing, and several counts relating to theft, motor vehicle theft, burglary, and robbery. He is going to remain in custody with no bond. It's unclear whether George knows the family or whether this was just some random act of violence. Obviously, we know he has felony convictions because he's being charged with possession of a weapon by a previous offender, which means he has felony convictions and shouldn't own a firearm. This case is just absolutely horrific. We will give Mr. George the presumption of innocence, but it doesn't look good. I cannot imagine. Could you imagine the horror of the mother coming home, finding the babysitter deceased, and then go in and find a man attacking and trying to kill your young child? That woman is a hero as well. We'll continue to follow that story, but I think it's going to be very interesting. Next on the docket, let's talk about the dumb criminal contestant of the day. Our dumb criminal contestant of the day comes from Sacramento, California, and her name is Melinda Gonzalez. She is 47 years old, and for some reason, only she will understand, she decided to steal a U-Haul truck. Not sure why a U-Haul truck, but that's what she decided to do. But apparently, she thought that the U-Haul truck needed to be cleaned before she drove off. So therefore, she went to the car wash. And when she got to the car wash, she apparently didn't realize how tall the U-Haul truck was, whereupon it couldn't make the 7-foot clearance. That's right. The vehicle was too tall for the car wash and she got stuck. Once Ms. Gonzalez realized that she was stuck, she tried to get unstuck. However, it appears that soap from the vehicle wash wouldn't allow for any traction. She went forward and backwards trying to get out, but she couldn't. Power was ultimately cut to the car wash. Ms. Gonzalez was allowed to exit the truck and placed into a squad car. When Ms. Gonzalez was arrested, guess what? Not only was she charged with the theft of the U-Haul, she was also charged with DUI. Shocking, once again, that somebody was under the influence of a substance that was affecting their decision-making process. Absolutely shocked. But this is a teachable moment. We've talked about this before. Now, when you steal a car and you return it, you still stole the car because you didn't have the authority to take the car. You took it without permission. That's what Ms. Gonzalez did. And I've used this example before several times where I've said if you steal the car, you still stole it. But if you brought it back and you maybe even washed it or filled it with gas, maybe Ms. Gonzalez was a watcher of Crime Talk and thought at least that would be some mitigation when she returned the vehicle, that it was clean and full of gas. But it didn't quite work out that well. The point is, don't take other people's things if you don't have permission and authority to do so. Now, our dumb criminal contestant of the week for last week was Miss Landon. She was the woman who was filing motions to dismiss cases, stating that she was, in fact, the city attorney prosecutor on those particular cases. Needless to say, the attorneys for the people became surprised when they realized they didn't file any motions to dismiss the case, and they later found out it was Miss Landon. Miss Landon, you are a Dumb Criminal Contestant of the Week, and guess what? That's right, you are going to get a Crime Talk mug. I'm sure you can hardly wait. Just don't send me any emails saying you don't want it, because it's coming anyway. Just be careful there, Miss Landon. Now, as you all may know, Tuesday night, we normally go into our live programming. Tomorrow, we're not going to go live because if you haven't heard, there's a big election going on, and I'm assuming most people will probably be watching election results. We've always tried to stay very apolitical here at Crime Talk because no matter what you say, you're going to offend at least half of the people out there. But we think that's what most people will be doing, and so we will pick a different night to go live this week. Here's your safety briefing going into the election, and hopefully there's no riots thereafter or anything along those lines. Hopefully it's very peaceful. We like peaceful, right? But here's your safety briefing, ladies and gentlemen. First, let's not add to the population. Let's not decrease to the population. Let's hope nobody winds up in the news, in jail, or at the hospital. But if you wind up going to jail, make sure you establish your dominance early and call me. Thanks for watching Crime Talk. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.